Say a joke.
Can I start?
You ready to record?
Yeah.
Say a joke. All right, give me 1 sec.
Say a joke.
Before I forget.
Say a joke.
I don't have one. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're giving it off the top of your head? Oh, you got your speech. Alrighty. Everyone ready? Last speech of the day. Everyone else should be ready on Monday. It might bleed over into Tuesday as well. All right, you ready?
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about abortions, and this topic sort of relates to mostly every speech that you guys are probably gonna give or have given. So I hope that most of you guys have heard of abortions before. It's killing a baby in the womb, like a fetus, so the mother isn't pregnant. And I know you guys are probably thinking that's so cruel and why would anyone do that, but I'm going to talk about why I think the opposite. About 3 years ago, I was at my friend's house for a birthday with a couple of other girls, we were having fun. And at the time, I had no idea what an abortion was, but it was coming up on the news, and I was like, what is it? And so I go to my friend Nadia, and I'm like, what's an abortion? And she says that it is killing babies. And I'm like, oh, well, now I don't like abortions. And, yeah, who would be in support of killing a baby? No one, I hope. But it was not until later when this topic came up again, and I ended up discussing it with my mom, and I began to reconsider my baby killing theory. Now, I don't know anyone who has ever had to go through an abortion, God bless, but I know someone who has been a victim of rape, and she was only about 12, 13 years old. The rapist was her uncle, and I can't name any of them for sake of privacy, but I can recall being absolutely horrified at the fact that her own relative, one who shared her blood, one who had been trusted by her mother and her, and many other colleagues for many years, not to mention the fact that he lived in an apartment just across from my school and like a few blocks away from my house, so I was like, oh God. So now I'm gonna bring up abortion and relate this to what I've just said. So suppose she were to get pregnant and she was on birth control pills for a while, I think, but she didn't have to get an abortion, but suppose she were pregnant and in the state at the time, just saying, like in the story, it was legal to have an abortion. How would she pay for the child? How could she feed her child? And how could she give her child proper education when she herself was still in school? Okay, in the conversation with my mom, going back to this, I can distinctly remember one idea that was brought up to me by my mom, which completely changed my idea on abortions. The idea that the baby is not really a baby, it's not really alive. It's just a fetus, it doesn't have any feelings. Then I developed another theory that is a fetus becomes a baby when it comes out of the womb and starts to live. Have you ever thought of what makes you alive? No, not physically alive, but mentally. It's not the fact that your heart's beating, or the fact that you're well-fed, or healthy, it's none of that. What makes you truly alive is cheesy things like Granny's apple pie, watching horror movies with your dad, or the pointless arguments that you and your friend have over the football job. And there's something that makes this issue so controversial. It's the fact that people argue over what time it would be considered murder to have an abortion and what time would be okay. Recently I was having a conversation with a student teacher. She was happily wed, she had a beautiful baby girl, and I asked her about abortions, and she told me that just at 6 weeks she could hear the tiny heartbeat of her child inside of her. This I thought was adorable, but not every mother ends up lucky like her with a perfect family. Not every mother is lucky enough to have money, support, or even the will to have a child. I'm not saying that I want more abortions. In fact, I'd love to have less. But when it comes to a woman needing an abortion, it's not the government's job to decide if she can have one. The woman has fundamental rights and the state cannot impinge on it. Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is sexually assaulted. The national rape-related pregnancy rate is 5%. This doesn't seem like a lot, but when you put it in simpler terms, it is 5 out of 100 women are pregnant because of rape, and that is quite a lot. Not to mention the other billions of women that are victims of rape, incest, poverty, or even threatened death that don't have access to an abortion. So next time you're in heated argument with a friend about abortions, if that ever happens, or when you need to decide, like when you're voting, if you're pro-life, which is you're against abortions, or pro-choice, which means that you're for them, just take a minute to think about the term pro-life, and does it really fit? Because who is truly alive? And I just want to go, okay, do I have a little bit more time? Okay, I just want to state, because I was giving this speech to Rena, and she said, it sounds like you're sort of like saying that you want more abortions, like you want babies to be killed, but that's not, I'm saying I want them to be legal, safe, and available, because you never know, like, what if the child was mentally ill and came into the world? You wouldn't want them to experience, like, you wouldn't want them to experience having that illness. And that's basically